Hello guys, this is Modest Major here, bringing you some commentary over some Gears of War Ultimate Edition. I know it's been a really long time since I've made a commentary, and I apologise for that, guys. I don't want to go too much in depth with the excuses, because I don't think that'd be fair to you guys. I haven't made a video in a long time, so I want to give you a bit of content to chew on, and today I'm giving you guys a bit of Gears of War Ultimate Edition. This only just came out yesterday in the UK, well actually last night at midnight. Technically the release date is today, but I played it all last night, got pretty darn addicted to it. If you guys don't know, I'm a massive Gears of War fan. It's one of my favourite 360 shooters, my favourite FPSs of all time. I guess it's a third person shooter, but it's one of my favourite shooters. It's definitely up there in the big leagues. There's aspects of Gears of War that I maybe even prefer to Halo, which is saying a lot because I am a big fan of Halo, but the movement options work really well in tandem with the gameplay mechanics, with the primary weapon being the shotgun. It's really got its own unique feel to the gameplay, not only in terms of the way in which the gunplay works, having a primary as a shotgun and the Lancer, aka the assault rifle, that's basically just a zoning tool, you know. It's not really used as the primary. You're not really going to go out of your way to try and get the majority of your kills with the Lancer. You can usually find ways to rush down people with the shotgun. It's a very rush down heavy game for the most part, especially once you get a really good feel and a really good rhythm of your movement options. You essentially use something called wall bouncing, which is where you go into cover, you instantly pop out, and you kind of use that to fake out your opponents. You know, are you going to go into cover? Are you going to stay into cover? When are you going to bounce off? You vary the timings and the rhythm to throw your opponent off kilter. Basically, so he can't get a read on where you're going, and so you're a harder target to hit, because players at any given time have a really high kill potential as you're using a shotgun, and this shotgun can get kills from a pretty decent range for the most part, and can easily get one-hit kills. They're called point blanks in this game. So you have to be quite careful. Nonetheless, that doesn't mean that people play campy, because they still have to get in pretty close for the kill, which I really enjoy. And it's a lot about flanking brutes, a lot about creativity in the way in which you approach your opponent, and not being obvious, not just mindlessly going straight on. Teamwork is also a massive component of this game. It kind of has a buddy cop vibe to it. I was playing with Delementary last night, and there was this moment where I completely blasted this guy, and Del was kind of looking over my shoulder and just stopping someone just before they killed me, and we were both basically having each other's back, and it felt really cool, and it really puts you in that multiplayer gaming mode. I think if the gameplay mechanics really encourage team play, then the party chat and the excitement and the overall levels of enthusiasm just go up in tandem with that. It's one of the reasons people love playing Halo with friends, is because there's a lot of call-outs, there's a lot of team communication, and it seems to really like bolster the friendships, bolster the hype in the group and the enthusiasm. In Call of Duty, there's a lot of moments where you can kind of just play lone wolf, you can kind of just fend for yourself, and I think as a result the environment in party chats can be a little bit more hostile, a little bit less friendly. There's a lot less people in game chat because you don't really need to be there, and I think that's a shame. Whereas Gears is very social. You can actually really help your team get the win by encouraging people to get clutches. The clutch factor is huge in Gears of War. Essentially you've got a pool of 10 lives in Gears of War Ultimate Edition, but once these 10 lives are used up of your team, you go into the last remaining 4 lives section, which is like almost like bonus lives, where, okay, this is your last life, now you need to be really careful, and if you lose that life, you're out of the game for good. And it means if there's only one person left in the game, or 2 people left in the game, everyone's watching them in cameras. It's kind of got that search and destroy vibe, or whatever they call it in Counter-Strike. I think it's bomb defusal, I want to say. It's got that vibe to it, where it's really exciting. You're trying to, you know, motivate, push your friends for the clutch, and it gets really hype once things start going. And the power weapons have a really high skill curve to it, as does the primary weapon. There's very little auto-aim going on in the game, and as it's third person, you've got to use the camera to your advantage. For example, you don't just want to be rushing around corners. You can actually use the camera because it's so like zoomed out. You can use the camera to get a look around the corner before actually venturing out there and making an unsafe play. So it's really, really got a high skill curve to the game. It's definitely a unique curve. As a result, this will put a lot of people off it because they'll feel like they're getting BS. They'll feel like they can't really fend for themselves. But it's just because they don't understand the rhythm of the game, the way in which the game works, what the game rewards, what the game doesn't reward, and you won't know from first impressions, first instincts. But I hope that doesn't put people off. For a while, to be honest, with the Xbox generation, especially moving into the Xbox One, I was getting into a mindset where I was kind of almost like questioning why I got into Xbox in the first place. You talk to people who had moved on to PlayStation, you talk to maybe PC master racers, and a lot of the time it would be this question of, why did you get Xbox One? What was the possible reason? Because in a lot of ways, Xbox One may or may not have been the worst choice, especially for the first 2 years of this generation. And myself included, when you're younger, you make a lot of questionable decisions. You make a lot of decisions based off of instincts. When you're just, you're not necessarily thinking as clearly as you will when you grow up and you mature a little bit more. And I thought, maybe the 360 generation was a fad. Maybe 360 wasn't as good as I thought it was. Maybe it was better for its time, and now that it's moved on, I need to move on. Maybe console gaming doesn't have the spark that I once thought it did. It didn't have the depth that I thought it might. And I really was questioning it. That's why I kind of took a step back from YouTube, took a step back from Xbox for a while to kind of get my perspective adjusted, especially with the release of Master Chief Collection. But not only that, just a lot of games coming out recently just really don't seem to have much innovation, much excitement, much of a spark going on, something where I'm excited to go on just to play the game. For a while, I thought that the game was almost, it didn't really matter that much. I thought it was about the social environment. I was like, it doesn't matter what I'm playing necessarily, I can play most games, but I just have to be playing with friends. And whilst that is true to some extent, I do think the social aspect is a really, really big component of what makes online gaming so fun. I do think you have to bear in mind that the reason I got into gaming in the first place was because I had this excitement, this enthusiasm, this massive enjoyment for something that was a little bit obscure. That, when I went to school, not everyone talked about games. It was kind of a little bit nerdy to talk about games. It was kind of a little bit out there. A lot of people at my school only played games like FIFA Football and maybe Call of Duty if you were super lucky. But you'd have to be super lucky. Like, that would be considered a hardcore gamer at my school. And when I found out about Xbox Online gaming, when I got into it more and more, I realized that out there is a community of people who are excited about the same thing you have. You know that you could talk for a good half an hour or an hour about tactics, about strategies, about your passion for the game. And it was so exciting to see people who were just as unashamed as you were, and just as motivated to get on this game and play it. And the spark was originally there, and I think I'd lost the spark for the game. I'd lost wanting to share that with other people, wanting to get excited, wanting to discuss that. And what's really exciting about Gears of War Ultimate Edition is I felt that back, even if just for a day. I felt that back for a little bit when it came to console gaming, when it came to Xbox. I remembered what it was that got me into it. I actually ventured into game chat and started talking in random lobbies. We were getting clutches going, we were getting good games going, and it made me realize, hey, like, I wasn't just an idiot, I wasn't just being ignorant. There was something special about Xbox Online gaming, and there still can be something special. And I know it's a little bit of a shame that this is a remake of an old game. They finally executed it well, unlike Master Chief Collection, where they tried to do too much at once. This is just a remake of Gears of War 1, which in my opinion is the best game, even if you're not taking into consideration my own opinion. I would argue it's the most favorably looked upon game on the series. A lot of people have their problems with 2, a lot of people have their problems with 3, but not many people have problems with 1. Even if they don't love it, even if it's not their cup of tea, they don't really have that much terrible to say about it, other than the connections. And now that this game is on dedicated servers, really, really fluid, there's a map pool of 19 maps, a ton of hugely underrated maps in this game so far. I really think this game has something going for it, and at the very least it will keep me to Halo 5, where I hope that enthusiasm and that excitement will continue, and maybe there'll be something new, there'll be something innovative that keeps me going. Instead of trying to recreate the spark, there'll be new sparks as well. And And yeah, I just want to say also before I finish this video, they talked about in the press releases and the the hype statements, I guess, leading up into this game, the advertising, how that they weren't trying to change the base fundamentals of the game. They didn't want to change what makes you nostalgic and what makes you excited for the game in the first place. They just wanted to polish aspects that needed to be polished, that would help you further relive that nostalgia, which would let you play the game the way you remembered it, instead of having stuff that used to get in the way. Now it doesn't get in the way. For example, connections, the fluidity of wall bouncing, the polish of the game, the way the bullet spread works. There's something called active downing with the sniper rifle, which is where if you active reload your sniper, it's a technique in this game to give you double damage for a short burst of time. You can't do it with the sniper rifle because it was basically a one-hit down. They basically went down to the floor the second you sniped them with an active reloaded bullet, which was ridiculous, to be honest. I think the reason they got away with it in the original Gears of War was because connections back in the day were a little bit crappier, so as a result it didn't have as major an effect. But now that we're in dedicated servers, now that this game almost feels like playing offline at times, I think there's got to be a little bit of give and take with such mechanics. Regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. There'll be more on the horizon. Looking forward to Halo 5 right now. Can't say that there'll be many Halo MCC commentaries on the channel, but I might throw up a couple of gameplays now and then. I do want to get back into the swing of things. Commentating has always been super therapeutic for me and super enjoyable. So hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. I've been Modest Major. Thank you for watching. Peace out.